Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction Renovation magazine. This is what it used to look like. We're digital now, but I'm grabbing some archives here. This is May, June 2014. Cycle Gear. Bill Newbill was the senior director of operations. They're out of California. That's where they're headquartered. And let's see what this was. This was 132 pages. Let's see what I was doing back there. Oh, I was coaching one of my lax teams. I think these were the eighth graders select team. And anyway, now they probably all those kids are probably 6'4" and 220 and looking down on me. But it was back in the day, and North Gwinnett Bulldogs, and coached my son all through school, and then continued on and coached in a couple of the area high schools, and got into the States and all that stuff. And I still play in the old man's league, so I can still go up and down at 61 on the field. And I told my wife, I go, look, as long as I can, catch and throw, and I can, my two ACLs that have been replaced in either knee, I'll be going there until I can't do it. And put me in a wheelchair and I'll go out there too. So it doesn't matter to me. But anyway, hey, if you don't know, today's November 5th. And you know what that is? It's election day today. So if you haven't voted, get there before the precincts close, because remember, if you don't vote, you can't complain. And if you got to vote. It's your civic duty. It's one of people of it's freedom. It's all that stuff. I come from a military family. They fought for our freedom, and I'm keeping my grandfather happy. And so if you haven't voted, go out and vote. If you have voted, enjoy the day. It's going to be crazy. Who knows what's going to happen? And hopefully they'll have some decisions by the end of the night. And but if not, just be patient. Eventually, we will get a decision. And let the chips fall where they may. I'm only one person, but guess what? I'm only one person, but there's millions of other people. That's why if you haven't voted, you got to go out and vote, because it all adds up. The sum is always bigger than the whole. But I'm down here in Atlanta. It's kind of overcast. I've got a little cold front coming through, and was finishing up my roof, so I'm hoping the rain will just kind of hang, because my windows are getting installed tomorrow. And the installer called me this morning and said, "Hey, David, I think the rain's going to hold off till tomorrow night, so we're going to try to get those windows in tomorrow." I'm like, "Please, we've had like no clouds for the last 2 weeks since the last storm came through." And I was looking at my phone, I'm like, "We got to get the roof done. We got to get the windows done before everything gets wet in there." And so I'm hoping that the windows will get in tomorrow, because the roof just got finished, and that will seal it. We've already got our front doors on, and the house will be nice and dry, inspection boom, and move on into the interior and sheetrock. So anyway, with election day, I'm still working. So today I have a nice young lady down in San Antonio, Texas. Her name is Sandy Hamby, and she is the president and CEO of MOCA Systems, or better known as MSI. And they're basically intelligence platform that helps construction projects get better delivery. They deal with labor and just making sure everything runs smoothly. So, Sandy, say hello to our listeners out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk from San Antonio.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, welcome, welcome. And Sandy actually is going to vote after this afternoon, because she's been on the road for the last couple of weeks. We were chatting before we went live, and she said, "Yeah, when I get done about 3 o'clock, I'm going to go over and stand in line and make my vote." So there you go. There is the picturesque of an American citizen doing her civic duty. So, and one more vote, count it in, drop it in the box. So. Uh, Sandy, the way that we're going to do this is we're going to do it in three parts. You're going to tell your story, where you grew up, where you went to school, and how you ended up at MSI today. Then we'll move into lessons learned over the last 4 years of the roller coaster that we've all been on, and any trends or et cetera on that technology front, project delivery that you see coming down the pike, or maybe any cool projects that you might be working on. And then you'll leave one positive thought in your contact info, and then we'll and close down the episode. So with that said, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
Thank you, David. Well, we have one thing in common. I'm also from a military family. My dad was in the Air Force, and he flew fighter jets. So, what comes with that and growing up in that environment is I have a very high tolerance for risk. And that plays a role in the later half of this podcast. I moved 22 times by the time I was 18, so I'm on the road all the time. I graduated from high school in Hawaii, and I bring that up because I was fortunate enough to have a drafting teacher. I took that as my elective. His name was Mr. Zamoto. And one day he pulled me aside and he said, "You're smarter than your boyfriend. You need to make a career out of what I see you doing in this class." And I thought, yeah, yeah, okay, thank you. And in my absolute brilliance and intelligence, I bought a plane ticket at 18 from Honolulu over to LA, bought a beat up old car and started driving across the country. I ran out of money in Oklahoma, specifically Norman, Oklahoma. Decided to take a typing test. The typing test, in the middle of that typing test, Mr. Zamoto's face came into my brain and said, "You can't do this for another 50 years." So I got up, left the typing test. In between the testing place and my car was the University of Oklahoma School of Architecture. Back then, this was in 79, you did not need to register in kindergarten to get into college. So I just walked in, I asked the dean, "What do I need to do to go to school here?" And the rest is history. 5 years later, I got my degree. A few years later, I got my architect's license. Learned very quickly. I graduated in 84 with a 5 year degree. Learned extremely quickly that there were no jobs. That was the savings and loan debacle at the time.
Yeah, that was
And
the mid-80s
architecture,
recession. Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That was a luxury. There were no jobs. Lucky enough to get a part-time position with the U.S. Air Force as civil servant, made $4 an hour. And what was so good about that job, even though it was temporary, was they just threw it at me. So at a very young age, I was responsible for an entire construction project. And just like your house that you're constructing, your residential construction, I was responsible to renovate an entire suite of housing for the military. And I didn't know what I was doing at all, not even close. I was very fortunate to get uh, what I would call mentors, both from the construction side and from the design side. And all I did was ask questions. I learned everything I could. Everything. I never assumed I knew what I didn't know. And I realized I liked being in the field. So I spent my entire career on the construction side in the field. I loved solving problems in the field. And I kept that attitude of learning. So every time I saw a master electrician go on site and they're putting in primary power, I asked him everything I could. And I think that is the whole premise of my career
Yeah.
is this is complex. It's hard to build. It's amazing what these people do. And I am, separate from graduating and knowing everything, I realized just how inadequate my education was and how much I had to learn. So I went private sector and went to 3D International. It was an owner's rep firm. I'll skip all the history there. There's a lot of mergers and acquisitions, and I ended up with MOCA Systems Inc. in 2010, in charge of strategy. In 2014, I became president and CEO. And my goal, true to a baby boomer, was to improve the industry. I didn't want to work in the industry for 40 years and leave it worse off. And I saw a real big hole, not just me, the people I had the honor of working with did as well, of uh, the whole claims environment that exists in construction, where the architect is on E&O errors and omissions, and the contractors and change orders, and everybody's
Hmm.
fighting, and we're going to go to court. And guess what? The owner always loses in that situation. Everybody loses.
Yeah, everybody loses. Hmm.
Everybody loses. And so I made a tenet within our company that what MOCA Systems Inc. does, we're owners, reps, and technology on large complex projects, is that every participant would succeed.
That's awesome.
Every participant. And we don't want anybody in the corner. So we created an online platform called Touchplan in around 2014, fielded it, validated that it was needed, and boy, was it needed. What this does is it enables crews in the field, once they, I always call it, find the dinosaur on site. right? The, the,
Mhm.
the very first day things go wrong. And
Oh yeah.
so it enabled them to work collaboratively between subs and GCs and owners and architects on how to solve the problem so everybody succeeds. And it's been now copied. We have competitors out there. It was definitely needed in the field. And we tied that with our owner's rep services, meaning how to deliver and help an owner who doesn't need to learn how to construct. They need to heal, they need to educate, they need to do whatever they do. But we need to help them get through this very complex process and succeed as well. And so we have a process called continuous alignment that's tied with that online construction planning platform that enables the project participants to succeed from the very beginning to the very end. It's been exciting. And I don't know what you've been in the construction industry, right? Have you had experiences along those lines where
Yeah,
people live in the
my
corner?
family's been in construction since 1888. We were in demolition and recycling. We were doing recycling before sustainability was even a word. And I grew up in the scrap yard, and when I grew outside of Philadelphia and just west of Valley Forge, a place called Pottstown. And all the grandsons had to, when you got your license at 16, you had to work in the scrapyard. I had no choice. So my first super was my uncle Frank Schuler. He was one tough SOB. May he rest in peace, but never wanted to be late, man, because I didn't want to deal with Uncle Frank, man, because he was going to give it to me. He'd just say, watch out for the overhead cranes. They don't care about any grunts down there, with the acetylene torches. I shoveled asbestos. I laid railroad tracks. I did all sorts of stuff. And now my cousins are running, they're running the business, but I still have my erector set, my metal erector set that I grew up with. And my grandfather was a combat engineer in World War II underneath General Patton, and he rebuilt all of he basically rebuilt Europe after the war. But during the war, he was rebuilding the bridges for the Allies, so they could win the war. And going into it, I had the opportunity to. I probably could have stayed there and what have you. But when you were talking about the '80s, when I was out in Denver in school in the mid '80s, I was there '81, '85. Um, interest rates were 18%. It was my mom's side was in construction, recycling, demolition. My father's side, he was in upholstery manufacturing, so he had a retail background. So when I got out of school, I did my retail training at Levis Furniture. I did everything from Scotch guarding. I was a picker, customer service. I built more of those little brass soft, they were loss leaders that they would stick away in the back of the store so people would have to go through it. I did merchandising. I did everything. But when it came time for me to go work in the plant in North Carolina or Mississippi, where there was like one restaurant and one hotel, I was like, I don't know if furniture is my bag. And listen, when the recessions happen, buying a sofa is, three or four items down the list that you're worried about. And uh, but it was really good experience, and everything that I've taken from everything that I've done. But I thought I was going to play professional ice hockey, to be honest with you, but took a little spill skiing and tore my knee up, and there went my career. But uh, even there, uh, like you said about your own system, about you want everybody to win. There's no I in team. It doesn't matter what you do. There's no I in team. You can't do it all yourself. You have to have other people help you, and you definitely want everybody that's in the project to win as well because it's more gratifying and they have some skin in the game. And so everything you said jives with me as an athlete, as an entrepreneur, as a business person. And but I have that work ethic because of my grandfather and just everything I've done. I've taken little bits and pieces and I've kind of molded myself. And even though I didn't make it to the NHL, listen, you're not going to win and you're not going to succeed in everything you do, but you're going to learn. And uh, it's just an amazing thing when I have conversations like this, especially because military people have a different a whole perspective than civilian life. It's just a different gig. I would get up in the morning, put the flag up, take it down, sit down dinners. I went to prep school, I went to boarding school, and so it was uh being coming from a military family, but I didn't move around. So the moving around thing, I never really, because he had already done his time, and had came back and was running, and my great grandfather started the company way back when in, the late 1800s, and but that was the thing. If you were a male, you had no choice. You were going into the scrapyard. That's where you were going, and keep it in the family. So, I can appreciate the military thing. I can think of worse places to be than Hawaii, but
Yeah.
hey, I give you credit. You went to LA, you got a beater, you went across, and hey, Norman, University of Oklahoma, Sooner, and you got your architecture degree, and then you saw some other issues, and boom, here you are, running a technology platform that helps projects be efficient, run on delivery, and those are all the things that, especially like if you're in retail, all the circulars are printed. They would want to open the store and they're going to back it up with a construction project, and you better make it, you better be able to deliver it, because if not, it's a very big small world out there, but reputation's everything, and you got to deliver your project on time. Architecture is stimulating. If you can save a few dollars, great. But you want to be on budget, and have as least amount of change orders as you can. So, but what a great story,
Thank you.
you know, the my dad was a pilot. He was in the Confederate Air Force, and I grew up with planes, and so it's my son's. He went skilled trades route. He went to aviation mechanic school to learn how to work on jet engines, and I worked for Boeing for 3 years, and now he's down in Dallas working for FlexJet, and best decision I ever did. They wouldn't let him into the shop class in his senior year. They said he didn't have his mathematics skills. I said, look, if there's one kid out of 3,000 kids that are in this high school, this is the one that you want to put in here. He's flipping cars. He's working on engines. He doesn't care about history or English. This is what he wants to do. Mr. Corsi he doesn't have the mathematics scores. So you know what I did? I yanked him out. I homeschooled him, and he worked in the local garage. He waited tables, and then we put him into AIM for 2 years, and he's got his A&P license now, and just got his name put on his toolbox, his tool chest down at Love Field in Dallas, and it's been an amazing ride. And you never know what your kids are going to do, but I know skilled labor, is one of your topics with your publicist that sent me on your press release and so forth. And I've lived it. So uh, just like anything else, you want to get to those people early, because we need help. We need welders, we need HVAC, we need electricians, we need superintendents, we need project managers, all of those things. And if you don't get them young enough and plant the seed, they're going to get brainwashed by, oh, I got to go to Florida State because they've got the new student union and all that stuff. And but I've lived
And
it.
that's something I'm very passionate about, actually. I'm glad you brought that up. If we don't get into the middle schools and the high schools and let parents know and the counselors know that construction itself is an honorable profession that is as equally honorable as being a doctor or a lawyer. When you look at how complex building is and the problems they solve and the bridges they build and the high rises, it's not the job you get when you do something wrong in high school. You get in trouble. Oh, you get to go in construction,
Hmm.
forget your career. It's a highly respected, chosen field that is exciting. And I think the young people have a real opportunity, whether they be welders or electricians, they make good money. It's a very interesting career. And you know what? After 2008, there has been more people retired without in the construction industry, people our age, that have not come back. They didn't come back over the last 4 years, and they left with a wealth of knowledge. And
Hmm.
so those internship programs and starting in middle school and ensuring that there's a good college track or a good trade track for our youth in this industry is incredibly important. We have a huge labor deficit right now. And what that results in on an adjacent front is there's been a lot of uh, attention spent on safety, and the state safety factors for incidents have gone down, but not the deaths.
Yeah.
And as you get people overworked, not enough labor into the field, that's something that has hit the industry hard. And then we have a huge lack of employees at the mid-level range right now. And
Oh, yeah.
it takes
It,
all of us to fix that.
Oh yeah, we put in a newsletter in our magazine last year. It's called Construct EDU, and it's just we I put it in the magazine every issue, but I'll post it on all of our social media, and I just tell people, look, if you know someone that's in fifth to eighth grade or ninth grade, and you should send them this because we put some good editorial in there on all sorts of things that construction's a great career to have. I know a lot of millionaires that are plumbers, electricians, drywall guys. I mean, it's just insane what you can make, and you can run your own business. Maybe you don't want to be an entrepreneur. Maybe you want to work for someone. That's okay too. And we just knew that there was when my son went in aviation, uh, they used the stat of 600,000 airline techs are going to retire. And airplanes cannot sit on the runway, and they have to be maintained. And the same thing, just like I said, we need welders, and if this country is going to go and rebuild itself and so forth, we need these people to go out there and do the work. And especially now with technology the way it is, my son took, it was during the roller coaster and when things were all, kaput, and you need some of that hands-on. You can't learn everything on the web, but it does make, things a little easier. And but going through it, I just saw what would happen. So as a coach locally, even with the kids, if I saw some of the parents, I would say, "Hey, what's your son? He's a pretty good lacrosse player, but sometimes they think they're going to be playing pro, and they're a needle in the haystack when that happens. The stats are against them. Does he have any idea what he wants to do? Hey, maybe you should think about construction for him." So I plant that seed as much as possible to get people because uh they all want to go to these expensive schools, and I think they're way overpriced. I mean, look, University of Denver is probably one of the most expensive private schools in the country, and but I went there as an economics, but I went there as a hockey lacrosse player. But I was a double major, economics, political science. Not to say that I don't use that stuff today, but most people go to political science or economics, they become attorneys. I didn't, I had to get the gap. I probably could have gone in there, but regardless, the schools are so expensive. And as I went through this program with my son, a lot of his friends went to pilot school at Middle Tennessee State. And the first day he was in class, one of his buddies texted him and he said, "Hey, our professor just said we don't need more pilots. We need more technicians and mechanics. So if anybody wants to make the change, do it now." And when he got that, because he didn't think he made the right choice, but when he was at Boeing, he got his pilot's license. Boeing paid to get his license. So, it's funny how, not only is he an A&P, but he's worth more now that he has his license, whereas other friends just have their pilot's license. So, uh, you look back and your decisions that you make when the fork comes in the road. Do I go left? Do I go right? And, but I didn't push him. I let him make his own decisions. But, um, uh, and he was a good lacrosse player. He probably could have played D1, but it was okay with me. He didn't. We went out to DU the year we won the national championship in 2015 lacrosse. First time in 60 years of playing lacrosse out there that the trophy went west of the Mississippi. Anyway, we went after the weekend, played in the alumni game, and the Sunday we were there. They had the top 15-year-olds in the country. There were about 150 of them at a little camp that they were running, and he was playing in it, and I'll get going, but this is a good story. So halfway through it, he's like, "Dad, I'm just a Georgia cornhole. All these guys have Nike world class bags." I'm like, "Don't worry about that stuff. Look, in the scrimmage this afternoon, you just give them a couple taps with your deep hole, and you let them know who you are. Okay, don't worry about those bags and stuff because they don't mean anything to me because you're not on the field with your bag. You're on the field with yourself." So it was an eye opener. And but did I think he wanted to go? He was all gung ho, but he went the skilled trades route. And I always tell you'll appreciate this in the military. I tell parents all the time, if your kid's 18 and he does not know what he wants to do, go into the military. All right. You get a roof over your head. You get 3 square meals a day. You learn leadership, character, and you can come out, you'll have a trade, and you'll be that much more marketable to yourself. Unless you want to stay in enlisted, or maybe do ROTC and become an officer and go that route. But if you don't know what you're going to do, go into the military. It'll be the best decision that you ever did. And you still have time to go back to school and get your degree and all that stuff. So I'm definitely pro-military, and I don't care what branch that you go into. You'll do yourself a favor if you don't know what you're going to do and you're 18 years old. So, that's my spiel on, but the whole skills day, we put this newsletter in, and people have been like, "Hey, I saw that thing, can I put something in there?" I'm like, "Hey, give it to us." So if you have anything that you want, we can talk offline, but it's a passion with me because I know my own industry. I'm 61 years old. And I know a lot of my guys are starting to retire. Either their sons are taking over the contracting businesses or whatever. I mean, even when my son, when I was telling him, "Hey, be an electrician, be a plumber. You'll be a millionaire. Everybody needs water. They got to eat with it. You got to cook with it. You got to do all these things with it. Let's go find a guy that doesn't have any kids. You come an apprentice. We'll buy his company out, and you can run it yourself." And but like I said, I didn't care what he did. He was good with his hands. So, um, but
That's definitely a good profession, the construction profession, and I always use that word profession. And the schools now have construction management programs, et cetera, that were just starting when I was in school, and they're very good. And they also enable the young people to learn about technology. And I think everybody understands that construction over history and agriculture, some certain fields were slow in adopting technology. And you asked me about some of the challenges over the last 4 years. Well, one was that MOCA Systems Inc. consolidated and believed strongly that we needed the expertise in the design and construction industry in order to make a change technologically within the construction industry. And so we have quite a few architects and engineers that provide services, owners rep services, which means we help owners deliver, but we also help understand what kind of technology is useful, what is the right information, because there's a lot of data out there. What is the right data that helps deliver on time, on budget, and make all the projects participants succeed? And the young people these days are learning that within the universities, technology and how to use the various forms of drones and uh, AI in the terms of Chat GPT, which is a little bit different than um, managing artificial intelligence on a full suite of data. So what we've done in the last 4 years is implement TouchPlan. I don't know how many users we have now, but multiple projects, over 5,000 projects. And so we're sitting on a lot of actual construction data. And what do we do with that? How do we help our owners, our contractors, or subcontractors deliver with that information, not only cost data, but actual construction performance data? And a lot of people told me that I was, you know, pie in the sky to try to combine the professional services side, the relationship side with technology side. Yes, within the construction environment, the technology, the youth understand how to use construction technology in the field now. And when we are sitting on a bunch of construction data that's real, we have the opportunity going forward to be able to help our owners, help the contractors, help the subcontractors be successful because we can analyze that data and show them exactly what's the best path forward proactively, not reactively.
yeah.
And so it's exciting because culturally we were told to separate the two. We stood like a tree. We did not separate the two. We believe that that expertise is needed in order to guide the technology development in a way that makes sense. We can connect or collect a lot of information, but if it's not useful, it's just information. So we are working very hard on getting the right data to give to the entire team so that they can get their crews to the next site. They don't have enough people. That's what they need to do, and without sacrificing quality or logistics. One contractor used it to get the concrete pours done in order effectively so that they didn't waste a concrete truck. If he was out of order, go around the block, get in the right order, and they kept the pours going. So it's been super exciting. It is the right thing to do over the last 4 years is to combine those two, and we are making a difference in our industry.
There are still contractors out there that are using slide rules. It's just crazy. And but the ones that have embraced technology, and listen, AI has been around for a while, but it's now come to, the genie's out of, that stuff's out of the tube. It's never going back. And it's been amazing how many people have incorporated into their, if they're, digital or using platforms to help projects get delivered. We use AI every day. I mean, I'm data addicted. That's what I've become. I went from print face to face to digital, and it was scary. But now I'll go over 40 million interactions on my website this year, just people consuming content. And if you would have told me in March of 2020 that's what I would be doing on election day in November of 2024, I would have said you're crazy, and because I was a print face to face guy, but. And I thought I knew a lot about digital, but I didn't. And took some classes, got Google and Microsoft certified, and um, it's it's just like Zoom. We had Zoom before, and now it's a tool. No one's going to get rid of it. People are probably tired of Zoom, but it's so much easier. If I have to do like a change order, and it's a 2.5 hour ride out there to look at a roof curb or whatever it might be. I can do it online. I can pick and choose where I want to go if I'm going to do something in person or look at a punch list or whatever. Um, One of the things I found out with our plans and looking at 3D, where after they cleared our land, my wife had designed the house. And after the grader cleared the land, he said, "Hey, Dave, I've done like 75% of this subdivision. There's 52 homes up there on the lake." Anyway, he goes, "You've got about 25-degree slope from the back of your yard to the front. And you're going to need a lot of dirt to put your basement in for your mom." And after we looked at it, our driveway was going to be almost like a roller coaster going up, and then it didn't really have a plane. And I call my wife. I go, "Houston, we have a problem. You got to get up. You got to get up here and look at this." And you can look at blueprints and CAD drawings all day long, but until you actually go out and look at it, and then you go, "Wow, I do not want my house to look like that. I do not want to have the driveway that steep," or whatever. You just roll with the punches. You fix it. We had to get got rid of the basement, and I had to get everything revised. But uh, yeah, stuff like I told my wife, I go, stuff like that happens every day on a build. So, you're just this is a new build. You're just going in and doing bathrooms, renovations, or kitchens or whatever. Here, we're doing the foundation, we're doing everything. And it's been an eye-opener. Even when we met with our first with the HVAC guy, we were up there last weekend before we started roughing everything out, and we had to put these vents, and she was a little off on her measurements, and we had to, and so I said, "Look, don't worry about it. We'll box those in, and in the corner, this is a guest bedroom on the upstairs. It's not a big deal. We'll put some trim up there, some crown molding. You won't even know what's even in there." And but these are the things that I go, you can't get stressed over little stuff like that. There's major other stuff that happens. So but like you, I've been very like when we were doing our concrete, the footings, the retaining wall, the slab. I was asked that concrete guy drove him up the wall. I was like, "What's the slurry? What's the temperature on that? How's that work? How's this work?" And I drive the subs crazy. They go, "Oh my God, Mr. Corson's coming up again, man. He's got the hard hat on. He's going to come in here and start asking questions, man." I'm like, "Yeah, because I got to write a column. I got to tell everybody what I've learned." And it's been fun. It's been I knew my wife could do it because I've seen all her projects she's done. But now that we're building ourselves, it's like, listen, I build this magazine every month. I'm a builder. I just build it. I used to do it with paper and ink and circulation. Now I do it digitally, but I built one of these every month. So now when I get the house built, I built that. And I can look at it and say, "Yeah, I did it." We don't even know if we're going to keep it. We might sell it. I have no idea. But it's and technology, all the reps, like the roofing guy that came out, he had his tablet, he had his samples in his truck, he had the drawings all done. I mean, it is so professional the way that things are marketed today. And the guys that weren't technologically advanced, they didn't get they even though they bid, we got 3 or 4 bids on most of the whatever it was. We gave to the guys that had the technology because it just made the process so much smoother, and you knew exactly whatever. You didn't have to fumble through pages. It was all right there. And it just when you see it, you just want to adopt it in any way you can. Um, uh,
Yeah, you asked earlier too about the future.
mhm.
That and I'm sure writing an article like you do every week, that's an important part of what you discuss with people. And We hired an economist. His name is Brandon, and we hired him so that we could help and facilitate our owners and the GCs and the entire team. You'll see that as a theme. The entire team understand what kind of stresses and what kind of potential problems they might run in. You always see this being forward thinking too. For example, everybody knows that the electrical supply chain has been extremely stressed. In fact, what we're seeing is we're asking owners to buy switchgear, et cetera, in the design phase, even before they have a construction contractor, so that they can, get past that 24-month lead time. And contractors working in design so that they can do those acquisitions early. You talked about wanting to know all the details of the construction slurry, et cetera, the concrete slurry, et cetera. You're exactly right. You have to be, especially on foundation work, et cetera, you have to be ahead of the game because those kind of problems can have long-reaching impacts throughout the entire construction project. You see a lot of data centers going up right now due to the AI boom, et cetera. Well, where's the power coming from?
Yeah, I was gonna say, where's the power? Hmm.
Where's the primary power? There's a lot of research going on about where is the primary power? Where's the land that can support that? You see companies already buying up that land, whether they plan to build that or not, but they're building against the future. The REITs, the real estate investment trusts, are somewhat leaving the office environment because we didn't all go back to work, right? So there's a glut in the office market. So their investment portfolios are transforming into the data center, the manufacturing, the bioscience. I think what you're seeing in the construction industry right now is a true shift. And it's a shift in how people live, how we deliver construction. We talked about the labor shortage that construction is, much like in the 1500s, the master builder. It's a hugely exciting environment and with real complex problems. Not only do you have the land, the power, the spaghetti, I call it the spaghetti, that's all the technology that needs to go into a building. Then you have cybersecurity. No easy thing to understand. So can you imagine all the different expertise levels you need to deliver a large complex project? And nobody knows it all. So having that technology, having the attitude of learning from each other, having the attitude that everybody succeeds is how we deliver projects successfully in today's environment.
You know, it was amazing when, because I did the permitting and here in Georgia, you either have to have a license or you have to pay cash and they'll let you build it yourself, at least in the county where I'm building it in Forsyth. And anyway, I had reached out to one of my covers that was I featured back in 2016. Anyway, he's probably built about 1,500 stores, big boxes, retail, all sorts of stuff, but a lot of stores. And he's doing residential lakefront. And I called him up. I said, "Hey Bob, how things going?" "Hey David." And I said, "Listen, I'm doing this house build, and I need someone to sponsor me to pull my permits. And we'll be the project management firm. We'll do the build. We just need someone licensed to go pull the permits. And if we like what we do, my wife and I will take the test and we'll get our licensing." And he's like, "So send me the plans." So I sent him the plans, and then he said, "Hey, I charge you a lot of money to build this house." I'm like, "Yeah, it's Lake Lanier. It's got a dock on it. I'm sure you would." He goes, "But you know what? You have me on the cover, so I'm going to charge you this to pull it. But you sure I don't have to do anything, right?" I said, "No, we've got everything. We're gonna do it all." And so he pulled the permits, but I went through the permitting process and did everything, and so I knew what was going on, and it uh it was an eye opener. And when we're talking about concrete, uh when we finished the footings and the retaining wall, I got an email from the concrete subcontractor that night, and he goes, "Hey David, we're pouring your concrete tomorrow." I said, "Matt, you can't go in there. It's got to get inspected." He goes, "Oh no, I do third party inspection." I'm like, "Matt, I just went through 4 months of permitting. No one told me about third party. Why didn't they?" So I called the chief building official. His name was Brandon too. I said, "Brandon, how come no one told me about you guys have third party?" "Well, when you get your permitting, you pay for the inspection. We come out the next day or whatever. But you know what the concrete guy told me? He said, listen, I'm trying to run a concrete business. I got trucks, I got all the stuff I got to do, all the big stuff in the morning, and then I do smaller jobs like you in the afternoon. But I have to know when those trucks are going to come because the last thing I want to do is waste a truck of concrete or cement or whatever they're carrying in there. And if I have to worry about the county, so we use a third party, and if you don't have third party, it's a smart move because they sign off on it. If anything happens, you have recourse. If you just go through the county inspector, even if there's a problem, there is no recourse. So he goes, well, back in 2020, when everything went kaput, we signed it into law that we could do third party. And I said, you should tell everybody that. You shouldn't hide it from people because I had to find out from my concrete guy. But I understand because now he runs his business so much more smoothly. Just like, because that was when I was thinking concrete, you told me, I was like, oh, I got to weave this in somehow and tell about mass conversation with me. So
Yeah.
now I asked the inspector, I said, look, do you do electrical? He goes, yeah. I go, you're going to do my whole house. I'm not going to deal with the county. So, and what was crazy is the county did come out right before they did the slab. He looked at, the electrician, the plumber, they come out before you pour the rebars in there, and he comes out and he stepped on a couple PVC. Oh, you're good. I go, that's what the inspection was? That's what I was worried about? And he goes, hey, I look at them all day long, man. It looks good to me. You picked good subs. That's the other thing. If you pick the right people that know what they're doing, A, you don't have to babysit them. B, you can learn from them. And if you find, ask the right questions, and that's what a it's like the captain of the ship. You got your ship hands, everybody's got their specialties, and if you hire the right people, you can get things done. And that's and have trust that they're going to get it done. And that's probably the most important thing is looking at people, getting referrals and all that. But that concrete story it made me laugh because that's what I was talking about. So I mean, do you see any other trends as you were, finishing up this year, going into 2025? And what's one of your coolest project that you worked on?
Oh, we're known in MSI for our work on capital restoration projects, meaning state capitals and the U.S. Capitol. We're on the California Capitol Restoration Project. In fact, that's where I was last week. And, we work with a lot of stakeholders on those projects, and we have a record of bringing them in on time and on budget without sacrificing quality. Our team has participated in the Utah Capitol, the Minnesota Capitol, the Wyoming Capitol, the Idaho Capitol early on in their careers, and now the California Capitol. And we are doing the master planning or visioning for the U.S. Capitol.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so it's been very exciting. And how we started that, I'll go to those individuals. They wanted people to know how fortunate they were to live, especially 7-year-old, not just seven, but kids in elementary school. They wanted an elementary person that is going through a capital to understand that they're very fortunate to live in a country that has the form of a republic form of government.
Hmm.
And so they wanted the architecture to be preserved and not sacrificed so that whichever state it was would exemplify everything good about that state. And golly, you talking about letting somebody go and run a business. They took off, and we do not sell that work. They come to us.
Hmm.
It's because people feel passionately about the higher level vision of what we're doing, not just building, not just preserving, but really giving a state a place to call home that they're proud of, and that shows in the entire team working together, the contractor, the architect, the owner, the state legislatures, etc. It's been really fun. Then we also have an expertise in technology, as you could tell, either through our facility condition assessment, where we go in and help owners assess what they need to do to keep their campuses like a university up to speed. Or we have the TouchPlan platform, which is designed for the entire industry to plan better, because we believe that projects kind of go off track very early with some of the decisions that are being made. So, trends for the future. That's really interesting. Not only do we have what we talked about earlier with the labor shortages, the supply chain's getting better. We're watching the Feds real closely in terms of interest rate dropping and how much that interest rate would drop and what would the effect of construction be. The infrastructure bill that was already passed, most of the money has not been spent yet.
Hmm.
We've been in the roller coaster times, as you say, and labor shortages. So you see construction everywhere as that infrastructure bill money is really starting to not be a conversation, but actually be under contract for the various ports and authorities throughout the United States and the DOTS, the Department of Transportation. I think the labor shortage will continue. I think if they drop interest rates, you're going to see continued investment by REITs, by investors throughout the country on infrastructure, on the solving some of the power problems for the data boom. I think you're also going to see the profession of construction being elevated, especially if each one of us can be seeding that conversation in all of our conversations with parents and counselors, et cetera, that switch will go back to where it's considered to be an honorable track for our youth, especially trades,
Oh yeah.
trades, and that's very, very important. So I think those are the trends. Um, with the labor shortage, it's going to take probably 10 years to overcome the people that dropped between 2008 and then add the roller coaster years. A lot of people left.
Oh yeah. Oh no, listen, it thinned out the herd on the in the general contracting side. And I mean there were brands that they would have 10 people in departments, and then you go after the crash in '08 and 10, after it finally got over, there'd be one or two people in those departments wearing, five different hats. And depending on how he picked up the phone, yeah, I'm the vice president of construction, real estate development, real estate,
Mhm.
facilities, project management. I don't know how he's going to answer it, but as a publisher, it's a treadmill with circulation. So I saw everybody was getting furloughed, offices were shut down, and I mean it was a rough time. The only difference between the crash in '08 to '10 and this one is no one really knew what was going to go on, and it really depended on what state you were in with regulations. Uh, but dealing with the federal government's the largest contractor in the world. They've been building stuff for 200 years. We're federal contractors ourselves. We're registered with SAM. I'm not building $30 million billion-dollar, atomic, nuclear power plants. But I just know that the guy that helps me run that section, he teaches people how to become federal contractors. So when the shutdown came, uh, he lives out he's out of Austin. You go down there for 3 days, and he teaches you everything you need to know, and then you got to practice. It's a numbers game with landing contracts. But sometimes no one even bids on these things, and then people will come out and they're just going to go to you because they know you can get it done, but they have to go through the rigmarole, the process. And uh it, everybody's, once again, it's a fear factor. Oh, I don't want to do business with the government. I'm like, yeah, but it pays very well, the jobs, and you'd be amazed at some of the jobs that are out there. And uh so we have a federal section in the magazine. Sometimes it could be a jetty getting rebuilt, but I always like the historical projects. We had one that was I think it was up in Boston. It was an old hall, and it was over 200 years old, and they were putting in new boilers in to heat the building and so forth. And it was just a rip, but they tried to keep everything the way it was, but they put the modernization into it so it would be an effective building versus building a new one and losing that heritage and that
Mhm.
architectural, that they don't really do these days. And so I can appreciate the preservation of history.
Yes. Yes, it's important, right?
Oh, absolutely. So, um, as we finish up, if there was, if you're out there and you're thinking about, wow, Sandy knows her stuff, and I want to bounce some questions off her. Maybe I was trying to do a preservation project and maybe, find out more about TouchPlan or MSI. How would someone reach out to you to touch base?
Very easy. We have my email is skh@mocasystems.com.
Okay.
My cell phone, and I don't mind people using my cell phone, is 210-887-7496. and then just searching for MOCA Systems Inc. on the website, and you'll get to our URL address of MOCA Systems Inc. So you can reach me at any of those contacts.
Well, there you go. So if you're thinking about, getting into, technology project delivery and you want to see someone that's been out in the trenches, traveling out there from city to city and so forth, give Miss Sandy a call and talk. And if you're from military, you can talk about your military upbringings and how many other cities. Maybe you beat her, that how many cities she was in, but give her a call and see what can happen. If anyone wants to reach me, you can get me at davidc@ccr-mag.com. And like I said earlier, it's like playing the lottery. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. If you don't send me something, the publicist reached out, they sent me the press release. I said, yeah, we went through, we finally got it, on the schedule, and here Sandy is today. So send me something. Listen, we since I've gone digital, I've become a content creator, and it's all about data. I look at data. I'm data addicted, and we want to look at everything. You could send me something about an anniversary in your company. It could be a new product release. It could be a case study or a project profile. Uh, we look at everything. Very tough to get in the magazine, but we post stuff all day long, and we'll find a place for it. Our turnaround's 24, 48 hours. We send the URL. It's good for your SEO, search engine optimization. That's how Google finds you. And it's a win-win. And believe me, if you don't judge the book by its cover. Send it to me. We'll take a look at it and we will find a place for it. And one of the things I found out over the last 4 years that there's more to work, there's more to life than just work. So we've kind of put some other stuff in there. Maybe how to buy the right cell phone or what's the best business insurance to have. So we can, there's some little tangents out there. We're basically all construction. Don't get me wrong, but we have put some of that other content up there. So uh, uh, send it to us and we'll find a place for it. So before we finish up, uh, if there was one positive thought or phrase that you'd like to leave with our listeners, what would it be as we finish Q4 and go into 2025?
I think the future is extremely bright. I think that if you look at life as everybody succeeding, that it will be a blessing for you and you will be able to move forward with your careers in an extremely positive way. That sentiment of learning at all times is is something that will benefit you as you move forward as well.
Hey, I think it's the most exciting time to be alive right now because between AI and technology, and you got the new year starting, and hey, listen, it could, whatever's going to happen today is going to happen. But I just think it's an exciting time, and I really don't care what happens. So I'm moving forward with my positive mindset, and I got to get it done regardless. So, I concur with your positive thought, and so should you out there in Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. So as we finish up, couple things. Number one, if you're at a construction site, you got to be safe. We want you to get home, be able to have dinner with your spouse, your wife, your husband, your partner, your kids, pets, whatever it is. Get a good night's sleep and be able to go do it the next day. Number two, even though oh man, winter's coming, you got to stay liquefied. That's the athlete in me. If you get dehydrated, you get headaches, you get hurt, you make mistakes. So if you're out there, put some electrolytes in your water bottle. Make sure you stay totally liquefied and hydrated. Trust me, you're going to have a better day on the site. You're going to eat better. You're going to sleep better, and all around, it's just stay hydrated. You'll save yourself a lot of medical bills. Trust me. And last but not least, hit the like button. We want everybody to find the episode out there on the algorithms, and so they can hear what Miss Sandy had to say about MSI and TouchPlan and her career path through where she is today. So, listen, everybody, it's election day. Like I said, if you have not voted, make sure you get it. Sandy's going out to vote about 3 o'clock down there in San Antonio. She's going to stay in the line. That was the first thing she said. Yeah, I got to go vote today. So make sure you get a vote and then enjoy the rest of the day because it's going to be crazy. I'm sure. Well, who knows what's going to happen? It'll be interesting. And with that, Sandy, if I get down to if you're traveling in Atlanta or whatever, let me know and we'll connect. I'd love to see one of your projects, one of those historical gigs. That'd be awesome. And maybe we can cover one of those in our federal section in the magazine. I would definitely entertain that as well. So, any
Very good.
last thoughts before we sign off?
No, I thank you for your time. I appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we like talking. Listen, first of all, you're a woman. you're in construction, and you're military, you've got that background, so we were honored to have you on the show. And thanks to your dad, who was a vet, so in the Air Force, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So aim high. That's all I got to say, right? Right? So
Absolutely.
so with that said, say goodbye from San Antonio.
See you guys later. Thanks for your time today.
And I'm going to say goodbye from Sugar Hill, just below the Buford Dam on Lake Laniero, about 25 miles north of downtown ATL. And everybody, have a great rest of the week. And listen, you got Thanksgiving coming up, and then the holidays, and boom, this year's over. And hello, 2025. So enjoy the next couple months, and we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Sandy, I look forward to meeting you in person. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. All right.
Same here.
All right. See you, everybody. Ciao.